Hi, good day. My name is Klasie Wessels and I'm from Street School. We facilitate mindfulness journeys and programs to India, Nepal, and also here in South Africa. We use the work of Viktor Frankl, Logotherapy, as the foundation of what we do. Dr. Viktor Frankl is probably more famous for his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Now, in surviving the concentration camps, Frankl has shown us, how to discover fulfillment despite circumstances. And logotherapy sort of gives us the tools to reorientate ourselves towards what is meaningful in life, and how to become aware of what is significant and what makes our lives coherent. Now, at Street School, we combine the search for meaning with mindfulness so that we not only become aware of what is significant in our life, but also how to better pay attention to it. So here we are, it's 2021, and to say that the world has changed is an understatement. We've got a new vocabulary, there's new habits, it's a very, very different world, and we're all trying to get to grips with this new normal. One of the really sad realities of current day is the increase in, feelings of frustration, depression, anxiety. A study done by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the US towards the end of 2020 found that 41% of people canvassed showed at least one sign of mental illness. An alarming 31% had signs of anxiety and depression. 13% reported increase in substance abuse, and 11% had a increase in suicidal thoughts. They considered suicide at least once in the last 30 days. And more than 5,000 people were covered in this survey. So these are alarming statistics and are showing us, how fragile we can be if we don't pay attention to our mental resilience and be aware of why we get up in the morning. So how do we inoculate ourselves? We're talking about the inoculation of our bodies, but how do we inoculate our minds against feelings of hopelessness and futility and frustration and aggression and depression and addiction and so forth? So logotherapy teaches us that life is meaningful unconditionally, meaning in good and bad times. Now, we all know that when life is good and when the going is good, we're all happy, there's no problem. But when the wheels come off, we start asking questions and the signs of frustration creep in. So how do we inoculate ourselves and build a barrier and create resolve in bad times? One of the lessons we can take from logotherapy is to look at our attitudes. It starts with attitude. And I'm going to jump into this thing called optimism. Now, we've all heard of optimism. We're optimistic. We say it to each other, but yeah, good and well. How do you do it? How do you stay optimistic? One of the things I learned from the people in the East is that to deal with emotions, it is sometimes useful to be rational and to analyze it. And what I'm saying is you can't wish it away. You can't wish to have optimism. You can do that, but it's probably not going to help very much. It needs to be, the foundation needs to be a little bit more robust. So let's analyze optimism through the lens of logotherapy, and I'm going to give you 5 steps how to actually rationally look at optimism so that you could have a stronger mental resolve. So just understanding optimism, what it is, it's expecting that good things will happen. It comes from the Latin word optimus, which means best. So in effect, it's saying do your best. If you keep on doing your best, good things may reveal itself. One of the realities of life is that it is always full of challenges. We're never free from obligations. We're never free from responsibilities. There's always a challenge of some sort. We always have the freedom. Frankl refers to this as the ultimate freedom. We are always free. Between action and reaction, there's a space, and we are always free to, in that space, make a decision and take a call and do what needs to be done, do the right thing. Now, Frankl says what makes life really tragic is he groups it in 3 broad categories. He refers to it as pain, guilt, and death. These are sort of fundamental realities of life. It's a suchness of life. So by pain, he includes all the suffering of daily life. You know, it may be illness, it may be business challenges, it may be relationship challenges, whatever it may be. By guilt, we include that what we have done in the past that we feel we shouldn't have done, and it's still way heavy on our minds. And death, yeah, well, that's something we think will happen in the future. It's not going to happen to us. It's not going to happen today. You know, we've got this delusion that it's not going to happen now. Anyway, we're not going to deal with death and guilt today, heavy topics, but we're gonna spend attention to how to build a resolve and how to create optimism for our daily challenges. For COVID, here we are. We're running a business. I've got to do something. You know, I've got to stay economically active. You know, how do I deal with my challenges? In order to understand optimism better, we have to discuss the conscience. You know, Frankl tells us that, you know, as humans, we have a body and a mind and conscience, a spiritual dimension, and that's where we're going to focus on a little bit. So, to be mentally fit and fully human, we need to be aware of our spiritual realities. You know, spirituality is our deepest form of being. That's where the true growth manifests from. Now, it's more than religion, although spirituality, of course, includes the religious, or, you know, your religious beliefs and faith and so forth. It also includes other dimensions, like your ability to transcend and become better, your sense of what is right in the world, your sense of humor, creativity, your courage, your vision, your dreams. All of those things are deemed to be spiritual qualities. Now, we all have spiritual characteristics. Each person is unique. We all have spiritual needs. And whereas spirituality may be a personal thing, every day when you interact with somebody, your spiritual realities and your spiritual beliefs show itself by the actions that you take, by what you say, by how you believe, or how you behave, etc. So it's not a static thing. So let's get into the meat of optimism. So the first thing we need to do is acceptance. Now, we've heard this before. You've heard before, accept things and so forth. But so often we accept things, but people hang on to the misery. They make a monument of the suffering. They keep on looking back at it. They keep on walking around it. They keep on building it up, and it becomes, in some cases, a life story. So people revel in their suffering by honoring it, instead of recognizing this is how it is and then moving on. Typically, this play out consider the questions why and what. So to get stuck on why may keep somebody spinning around the situation. Whereas the question what can I do? How can I make it different? Immediately moves you forward. That is the suggestion that comes with acceptance. So the first step is accepting this is how it is, but move on from it and not get married to this challenge. The second step is to remind yourself of what makes it worth it. What makes life significant? What makes it worth it? What gives it purpose? What gives it coherence? What makes it hang together? What is it in your life that makes it sing, so to speak? That is the second thing that you need to remind yourself of. The third foundation on which optimism is built is appreciation. And I'm using the word appreciation in its widest context here, which includes being grateful for what you've got, your opportunities, the people around you. It also includes love. And love in this context is not enchantment, being infatuated by somebody else, but grace, compassion. Looking at other people that you interact with in every given day with a truly, deeply understanding of where they're coming from and who they are. And actually, there's a mindfulness moment in this exercise itself. By putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, just for 5 minutes, imagine their worries, what they are going through, their challenges, their hopes, their dreams. If you do a little exercise like that, to then come back and look at your own screen and look at your own life, you will do that with a different sense of the people around you, a different appreciation. This is a third way in which we can gain a bigger resolve in which to become optimistic about our own path. The fourth foundation for building good optimism is hope. Now, it's useful to be hopeful. You know, and we often talk about hope. We are never free from challenges, as I said earlier, but we are always free to decide how we're going to react. And hope is often understood as, you know, our aspirations, our plans, our daydreams, our desires, our wishes, etc. And we are forever hoping that things will work out, you know, well for us. But hope needs to be found. However, hope needs to be built on something a bit more solid than just blind wishes. The truest foundation for hope is to be hopeful that it is all worth it. To understand that I'm not only hoping for a good outcome, but I'm knowing that it is worth my effort. Because if we combine that foundation with hope, then our hope is not shifty. And finally, the fifth aspect on which, or the fifth foundation on which optimism is built is faith, or beliefs. Now, we can have faith and beliefs on multiple levels. You know, it includes religion, a cause, your company, another person, the goodness of nature, the goodness of life. It can be many things. The one I want to focus on here is the faith that you have and the belief that you have in yourself, in your own reason for being, in your own cause, in your own strength. In other words, in your own agency. Believing in your own agency includes an awareness of a few realities. And this is quite important because this is probably, well, for me, this is one of the biggest enablers of optimism. The first one is everything has not already been decided. Your life is not predetermined. Things can change. The second thing is you are more than your thoughts and your emotions and your worries. Your worries and your thoughts are things that you have. They are mental constructions. Mindfulness, and by taking control of your thinking patterns, can change that. You are more than your thoughts and your feelings. You are also more than your body and your mind. You have a consciousness, is what we need to tap into, sixth sense, that inner knowing that can help us direct. That's the third aspect here in terms of building a proper agency for yourself. Fourthly, you are not the same as everybody else. You are unique in your challenges. You are unique in a person. You are unique in this time and space. Nobody walks in your shoes. Comparing yourself with other people is not useful. And then finally, you're not a pleasure-seeking machine. Yes, we all want to have good times. But, you know, we are built for bigger things. We are built for a higher quest. We are meaning-seeking machines. Our ultimate driving is towards meaning. And if we become aware of these aspects of your personal agency, it could instill you with a greater sense of optimism. It is imperative to keep our psychic balance and not skirt on the edges of despondency. We must constantly remind ourselves and become aware of our own potentiality, the potentiality of life, and the worthwhileness of our efforts. The Russian writer Dostoevsky had this quote, very powerful, saying that you know, he only feared one thing, and that he may not be worthy of his suffering. You know, as mindful leaders, and we're all leaders, you know, even if it's just of ourselves, we're all in some form of leadership position, family or business. We need to remind ourselves of the worthwhileness and the worthiness of our efforts. What makes it worth it? And stay optimistic in our attitudes. So I hope this was useful. If you want to make contact, you know, send us an email or, you know, go to the streetschool.co's our website. There's more information there if you want to get involved with some of the workshops or, you know, individual coaching sessions. Thank you.